Hey, how's it going today? So I say real quick, but this will probably wind up being, video. It's a few minutes long, but um, what I want to talk about is hybrid work positioning devices in single rope work positioning systems, and then also later on discuss an optimum setup for a hybrid rope walker kit, and not go back into some of the old styles, but what has evolved and kind of the consensus is as the standard good operational hybrid rope walker. So we've got four devices in the industry right now. Now there's a couple others that are in development and prototype stages and in very limited small production. So I won't address those right now. One of them is coming out from Rock Exotic, and I think it's going to be pretty groundbreaking. But anyway, so I'm going to start off with our two systems that are based on a friction hitch system. That's going to be familiar to most tree climbers because regardless of what you use, whether you're still climbing on a closed system or an open system with a quick hitch, we're all using some type of friction hitch or have historically in tree work. So the first one is the rope wrench system. And I've got three hanging here because there's three setups that, I have and I'll use. So what, I base two of mine on is the hitch climber pulley. We're all familiar with that. In order for the rope winch to work, you need to have a stiff tether on it. When Kevin first made the first production run of the ZK1, it had a soft tether, and there was some drawbacks to that, and guys figured out that, a stiff tether was the way to go. You can make your own out of, PVC pipe, what have you, carve one out of wood, weld one out of aluminum, or buy one of the commercially sewn ones. There's a variety of options there. What's also key on the stiff tethers is you want to have a piece of rubber tubing or some castration band, something that keeps the rope wrench from inverting and dropping all the way down and landing on your hitch. So it keeps it more in the operating position, ready to deploy in a descent mode. And what the rope wrench does, it'll say on there, not for life support. All it does is put a bend in the climbing line, which I'll show you later, that reduces the force of your body weight on the friction hitch and makes your friction hitch perform very similar or just like it would in a doubled rope system. So, to have a complete rope wrench, well, guys will be on the phone with me and I'll say, hey, a great option if you're a production tree climber. You already have some of this equipment in your climbing system. A rope wrench is a really good investment because you have most of the gear. You have the carabiners, you have the slack tending pulley, you have the I&I hitch. All you need is a stiff tether and the rope wrench, and you're off to the races. So this one is just the normal stiff tether with a small micro beaner seized onto the end. That goes in one of the holes on your hitch climber pulley. There's your friction hitch. Another option, this is something that Eric Whipple came up with, a great guy, super great climber in the Northeast region. This is his Ocean's tether, and again, you see we've got the little bit of rubber up here at the top to keep that wrench from dropping down all the way. This is starting to wear out, so it works that way a little bit. This one has a two-leg design that actually each leg will go over the hitch climber pulley. You still have your friction hitch, and everything's going to wind up getting stacked up here on a larger HMS style carabiner. I use the Williams for this because they work good, and I like Petzl Williams carabiners. And then something that I just started using, my buddy Rich Hattier turned me on to this, another very accomplished climber and rigger, and kind of one of the folks that, like Kevin Bingham, Rich, Eric Whipple, there's many others that really helped evolve and develop the single rope work positioning systems from where 20 years ago, guys like me, we were using a fixed line single rope system strictly for canopy access. We'd switch it over our double rope. The beauty of these hybrid devices, it allows you to use it just for canopy access if you want to, but also you can work position, move laterally in the canopy and descend. And that's really the beauty of these systems is the fact that within 8-9 seconds, you're descending. If you need to, if you want to, what have you. So this one, like I said, I'll have these rigged up so you can kind of see what they look like when they're configured on the line. This is going with the single, what ISC calls the rope wrench pulley. And it's a slick setup. Again, you're going to have everything up here on the top of your HMS shaped beaner. really digging how it's functioning for me. One of the other nice things, like when I'll recommend the rope wrench system to guys, is it's really easy to switch back to double rope. I mean, literally all you got to do is just take your wrench off the rope, push out the slick pin, drop it down. You could have it dangle. You could hang it in your harness, bring the sharp end of the climbing line around, clip it into your hitch climber pulley, and you're on a double rope system. So our next device, made by Paul Cox, very innovative gentleman, super smart guy. He made the Raptor. That's a great motorized fixed line ascent device. He made the Hitch Hiker. This is the Hitch Hiker 1. I still have a couple of my old ones. I also have the Hitch Hiker 2, which is just a more compact version of this. The way the Hitch Hiker works is you have this dog bone here that's sliding in this angled slot, and then you have another angled slot with your carabiner. And basically, your body weight is pushing the rope into the frame of the hitch hiker, and the carabiner is pressing down on that. Your prusik is tied in a French prusik configuration as standard onto your line, and then that's driving the dog bone up and pressing the rope into the frame. And what it does, same thing that the wrench does. You don't have 100% pressure on your hitch, because you can break a prusik free and descend on it, but you'll go into uncontrolled descent. First time you stop, it'll lock up so hard it doesn't work. It's number one, not safe at all, and it's not a correct method to use to descend on a fixed line. And with all these devices, you're going to have to tend them up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so you're going to want some kind of tether on the carabiner of your hitch hiker, so that when you're ascending on your rope walker, driving up with your legs, that hybrid device, which is at that point functioning as a chest ascender, is going up the rope with you. So that's the hitch hiker, and one of the big advantages of this over these other three systems, it's the most compact. So like when you're doing removal work and you're on a spar and you're rigged up for rescue, we always want to rig for rescue. Self-rescues, first and foremost in our minds with our climbing systems, is this is a nice compact system, okay? Your rope wrench system is fairly long. It's a little over a foot long. The uni is very compact. The rope runner is a little bit, longer than the uni, not as long as the rope wrench. But so that's your hitch hiker. Another great investment. You can run double rope on that. It's going to be like an old style open system, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of that in a little bit. So those are our two prusik-based systems. So next up, we've got the Unicender. This is something Morgan Thompson came up with several years ago. Rock Exotica makes it now. This is still by far my favorite single rope device. And it just for the simple matter, a lot of the time what I'm doing now is testing gear or just straight up climbing for fun, wreck climbing. There's very little sit back on this. It's easy to install midline, but really, I don't want to say all it's good for, but really where it absolutely shines is it going up. It's a great ascender to go up on. Doesn't damage the rope per se. I mean, it does wear out your ropes because it's aluminum and it's rubbing on the rope. You can take a little bit of a fall on it. It clutches to a degree, and you can come straight down with it. It doesn't have an ability to fair lead very well, so it really on limb walks doesn't work well at all. You can make it work, but it's a hard way to do things. But again, it's simplicity in design. It works great. It still is my favorite SRT device for my purposes. A lot of the times you'll see expert use only on Rock Exotica's products. In my opinion, this is for the journeyman level. I don't like to throw around the word expert because that means you should be retired. You're done learning. You know everything, which is impossible in my mind. But this does require very good technique and a lot of skill on the part of the user. So I don't recommend this for beginners at all, because to rappel with it, to descend with this device, it takes technique. It's simple as that. So. And then next up, we have the rope runner, also an idea from Kevin Bingham, who gave us the rope wrench in life. This is a mechanical, Functions with some similarity to the bends that, you know, like the uni puts in the rope, or the zigzag, if you're familiar with that double rope technique. It is midline attachable. There's, you know, a couple pieces. You have to modify or add on a little tether. If you look on YouTube, there's lots of guys that have come up with some good ideas in regards to tethering it. I just went with a little piece of cord. And this is another device that, in my opinion, is not for the beginner at all. This is for the experienced worker at height who's fluid moving through the canopy and already has the fundamentals of working on a rope system down. Because this can be unforgiving used incorrectly. And you know, this is another one where you shouldn't be bending and loading any of your hardware through tree crotches and stuff anyway, getting that lateral loading, but that's even more critical with this. It does, once you get it tuned and once you learn how to use it and pick the right rope, you know, a couple of these devices, this one in particular is very rope specific. You know, this will flatten lines, as will the Hitch Hiker. So you want ropes that have a good body that stay round, and that's where the Rope Runner falls in that category, as does the Hitch Hiker. But it is a great device. It's super popular with a lot of production climbers. It's not my favorite, and probably the number one reason is, you know, I still work for wages, as do many of us in the industry, and it's a $300 device. That being said, it's a great device, and there's literally hundreds of guys and gals that love this thing. So that's your Rope Runner. So again, we're talking about hybrid rope walker systems. I can fit my complete rope walker kit in a little bag like this, and there's just a few things that you need to build the whole system that allows you to ascend your fixed line and descend. So you're going to need some type of floating knee ascender. The concept of using a floating knee ascender has been around since the 60s. You know, cavers, that's something that they brought to us. There was different systems, the Mitchell, the double bungee. And then just, you know, a few years ago, a guy by the name of Michael Frankenhauser, he came up with the idea of manufacturing a floating knee ascender that was a complete, you know, thing that was built. Everybody else, we would build our own. We would make our own setups. And that was the Haas, which I have one here. It's not my favorite. A lot of folks love it. So this is the Haas. And what it is, you know, you have a little adjustable foot loop. There is a new version out now called the Velox. I don't have that one. What it is, you have a bungee cord that's in a piece of irrigation piping, basically inside of this 10X, and a basic ascender. This is one that I made to try out on my own, but it's effectively a Haas. But it's not, you know, as good as Michael's, you know, Haas design. This is something I did. It works, but it doesn't work as well as his. My go-to, you know, in my opinion, this is hands down for a floating knee ascender, the best rig that exists on the planet. This is from my buddy Richard Mumford. This is the SACA. That acronym stands for Self-Advancing Knee Ascender. Richard was kind enough to make me a purple one in memory of, you know, one of the greatest artists ever, Prince. So this is my Purple Rain SACA, but where it differs a little bit is it has two pieces of cord in there. It's a Spectre bungee cord that responds really well. It seems to last a lot longer than like the bungee that I put in mine that I made. It's very easy to replace your bungee. It's got just a basic ascender on here from Climbing Technologies, a foot loop. So that's your SACA. So there's your floating knee ascender. That's one of the things you're going to have in your, you know, optimized rope walker kit. You're going to need a hybrid device. Remember, this functions as a chest ascender on ascent, and then it's your descender when you're coming down. So you got a uni there. You're going to need a foot ascender. There's a variety of them. I'm running the new Pantene with the catch on it now, seeing how I like that. There's the Camp Turbo Foot, which is great. There's the CT. ISC's got a new one coming out. There's the CMI. So you're going to need a foot ascender. And this is what's propelling you up the rope, is your floating knee ascender and your foot ascender, okay? Now, a little bit earlier I was talking about you're going to need something to tend the device up that you're going to connect to your hybrid device, so as you're walking up the rope, it's dragging it up. I prefer a chest box style of device. Some guys like having a bungee neck tether. I don't think there's anything wrong with neck tethers, but if you're going to go that way, you want it to be a fixed piece of line. The bungee ones don't work well at all because there's too much stretch, there's too much slop. I like having the fixed chest harness, kind of like a bra sort of setup. It's just you can leave it on while you're working the canopy. This is a Weaver one. There's other good ones. Other options are you can use different over the head laying on your traps, type of rigs like the Torch or the Secure from Petzl. I still have these. I still use them in training classes, but I much prefer the chest box type of thing because there's just a lot of line laying up over you. So you got to have something like that. So we got our chest box. We got our chest box. Stay. So that's your rope walker kit right there. Those 4 things. And you have a hybrid rope walker system. You could have the rope wrench system in place of the Uni. You could have the rope runner. And you could have the Hitch Hiker. But these effectively let you very easily access the canopy. I mean, I'm 48 years old and I can still climb quite simply because I have these evolutions that have happened. It's been kind of a gift for me and a lot of other, those of us who have been in the workforce for 25 plus years. Our bodies ache sometimes, and this is, I don't want to say it's effortless way to go, but it makes rope climbing very, very easy. Okay. And you can also descend, and with, the more optimum devices like the rope runner, the Hitch Hiker, and the rope wrench system, you can move laterally in the canopy, which is key for doing tree work. And also on that note, now, folks are starting to explore twin single rope work positioning systems in the canopy. And the one that's really shining for me right now as I'm exploring that is the rope wrench system. So, single rope work positioning and the devices and the systems that we have now are, in my opinion, pretty much mandatory for every climber. So, just real quick, going to show you a complete hybrid rope walker system set up on the rope. Some quick up down with it. I'm going with the rope wrench system here. Everything's basically the same as far as this. So I got my socket installed on the rope. I'm just ready to clip into my left foot. You can run these left, right, however you want. I just habit, I guess. I always have my foot ascenders on my right foot. That's my dominant leg. That's the one I curb stomp with, what have you. My foot loop for my socket is on my left foot. So just basically got this rigged on my rigging plate because I like this orientation better. It's a little bit more intuitive for me to tend slack that way. And it's just simply a matter of, I'll show you here, how easy it is. I'm not going to be hauling with my arms. I'm going to be driving up the rope with my legs. Just literally rope walking up the rope. And I neglected to put a throw weight on the bottom here, so we'll deal with a little bit of that. And as I was talking about before, you're going to want something to tend up your hybrid device. I choose to go with the chest box like this. You can use a neck tether if you choose to. So now I'll engage my socket. You can descend and switch over, you can ascend and switch over to ascend. In the rope wrench system, your hitch is functioning just like it would in double rope. So, that's really how easy it is to go up, you know, not effortless, but it's very, very, very easy. So real quick, we all know that Petzl changed the Pantene a couple years ago. When they came back out with it in 2016, something that they did that I was super happy about, for me personally, I'm not the most coordinated of cats, is they put a catch on it this time, which makes it excellent for me. They went with all Dyneema webbing, you know, for the abrasion resistance of it. It's lightweight. So they improved it. I'm pretty happy with how it's working so far. And these catches, so for those of you that have the 2015 versions, you can install this on your other Pantenes as well. It's something you can purchase separately. I wouldn't be able to use the Pantene without it, basically. The old original version with good technique, if I really focused, I could keep it on the rope, but I would still opt to put a carabiner in to keep it on there. You know, lots of folks don't need that, but now with the catch on there, I'm real happy with it. So that's our 2016 version of our Pantene.